The gunshot wasn't supposed to echo that long. It hung in the air, trembling against the concrete walls, as if the city itself refused to swallow it. I stood there, breath sharp, pulse steady, watching the blood crawl across the floor like it had somewhere to be. Her phone vibrated beside her hand, one last call lighting up the screen. Unknown number. I didn't answer. The smell of iron mixed with cheap perfume, the kind she wore for work, not for me. Outside, a siren wailed, distant, unhurried. No one runs for help in this part of town. They just close their blinds and pretend it's thunder. I wiped the prints, fixed the watch on her wrist back to 10:47 p.m., and whispered to the silence, "You deserved better than truth." Then I left, leaving justice to wake up in the morning news. The next day, the headlines called it an unsolved act of violence. They always do, when the killer looks too much like the victim. I watched from the corner booth of the cafe across the street as detectives swarmed her apartment. Gloves, cameras, notepads filled with questions I'd already answered for myself. They thought they were dissecting a tragedy. They were cataloging my precision. Detective Hale arrived late, same unshaven jaw, same habit of pretending to care. He once told her lies always start with truth, and I suppose that's where we both agreed. He questioned the neighbors, the shopkeeper, even the mailman, everyone except the one who should have been obvious, me. I stayed calm. Routine saves the guilty. Coffee at 7, work by 9, sympathy by noon. But when Hale looked up, across the street, his eyes stopped, just for a moment, on mine. Not suspicion, recognition. The kind that remembers you from somewhere it shouldn't. Guilt is quiet at first, like static behind a radio. You can live with it, drown it out with noise, but it's always waiting for a pause. By the third day, I stopped sleeping. Her voice filled the spaces where silence used to live. I could almost hear her footsteps in the hallway, the faint click of her lighter, the soft hum of that song she played when she thought I wasn't listening. The city kept moving, traffic, laughter, chaos, but every sound felt staged, rehearsed. Even my reflection started to lie. I'd stare at it and wonder if it was trying to confess. Detective Hale called me in for a routine statement. His tone was clinical, his eyes weren't. He knew something, not what, but enough to unsettle me. He asked if I believed justice ever comes without consequence. I told him justice was a myth. People just call it closure to sleep at night. He smiled, a small, almost sympathetic smile. That's when I knew he'd already started tracing the cracks I'd tried to seal. It wasn't the evidence that betrayed me. Hale visited my office 2 nights later, said he wanted to revisit a few inconsistencies. His voice was calm, rehearsed, like someone reading my confession before I'd written it. He laid out photos on the desk, her phone records, security footage, timestamps. One detail he shouldn't have had, the watch on her wrist. Interesting, he said. Stopped at 10:47 p.m., same minute you called emergency services. I didn't flinch, but inside something folded. He mentioned a recording, a voice memo from her phone. I'd erased everything, but not the cloud. Her last words, faint but clear. He said truth hurts more than death. It wasn't rage that followed. It was understanding. He wasn't accusing me, not yet. He was letting me feel the walls tighten, inch by inch. I signed the papers he asked for, answered his polite questions, and walked out. But as I reached the door, I saw my reflection in the glass. Not as the man who got away, but the one waiting to be caught. Hale called me again, this time to his office. He didn't need proof anymore. He wanted confession. The air smelled of old paper and cheap whiskey, justice's true perfume. He slid a single USB drive across the table. Her last file, he said. Thought you'd want to hear it before I log it. I played it. Silence. Then her voice, soft, trembling. If something happens to me, It's because I told him the truth. I looked up. Hale's face was unreadable. Why did you do it? He asked. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My silence was louder than any excuse. He pressed the stop button, pocketed the drive, and stood. You don't belong in a cell, he said quietly. You belong in your own conscience. He left the room, no arrest, no triumph, just absence. I sat there, realizing the punishment had already begun the night I pulled the trigger. They ruled it unresolved. No charges, no closure. Hale never filed the evidence, and I never asked why. Perhaps justice, to him, was letting guilt rot slow enough to taste. I go back to the same cafe every morning. Same table, same bitter coffee. Sometimes I see her reflection in the window, smiling, the way she did before truth turned us both into ghosts.